you're not just writing, you're trying to understand yourself better, and you're trying to make sense of emotions, which is sort of a strange thing to do because your emotions are so intangible and they're so crazy. And often I like will feel very strongly and I don't know what the feeling is. Like I'm like, what is this? I'm just feeling emotions. So the point of journaling is really to just look inside and be like, okay, what is this? Why am I feeling it? And what do I do with it? And that's sort of what you have to ask yourself when you're journaling.
It's definitely a great outlet for all kinds of emotions. I feel like I do my best work from pain. So it takes you in directions you're not quite ready for. And it's always interesting to see what the finished product is. And I definitely think journaling gives you just an introspection into like your own writing, because at the time you'll be like, oh, these are all the emotions I'm feeling. This is how I'm perceiving it. This is what I think is going on. And then to take a step back from it and kind of connect the dots of what are maybe the things that are reoccurring, what are the situations that are maybe triggers, and what are like those key points that maybe are the true cause of distress, even if you don't realize it in the moment. So it's kind of interesting to see that. Not that it's a substitute for therapy, but it gives you kind of something to work with. It's definitely good to just write things out in your own words and just to have some place to kind of store the pain outside of yourself, I think.
Sometimes journaling is almost like rambling, you know, it's kind of like getting closer and closer to a truth.
So the first thing I got when I started journaling was a validation of my pain. You know, it's really hard to expect others to validate your pain because they got their pain. Everyone has their own cross to bear, so to speak. I first started, I was just trying to look for the one or two friends or lovers that I could count on that could just bear all my pain. And that's simply unfair. Unfair, because no one's capable of doing that. I realized that. And once I accepted it and I realized, oh, wow, the burden of responsibility to recover, to heal, to deal is on myself. So I couldn't deflect that responsibility anymore. That pain is mine.
You know, I've never used prompts when I'm writing. I mean, usually most of what I've written in my life is research. So it's I would like I said, it's very evocative emotionally, and it's because, I mean, these are quotes from people who have journaled. These are journal entries, and so naturally they're going to be emotional, maybe even a little triggering. And so they really sort of, so if I have a topic in mind, or maybe not even a topic in mind, it's almost, they really kickstarted it. I don't know how else to put that. Yeah, I mean, it's like, you know, it's like the spark that ignites a wildfire.
Something I would tell someone who hasn't journaled before, because I would definitely start by saying I've been in your shoes. Before this, I didn't know how to journal. I thought that there was a method to it, a big, like a formula that you needed to plug in to do it. And starting with the love story, I realized that there's no right or wrong way to journal. It is your notebook. It's your Word document. Whatever is on your computer screen, whatever's in your notebook, that is yours. Throw aestheticism completely out the window and just do whatever your heart is telling you, and kind of quiet some part of your mind that keeps saying, no, you should do it this way, or this isn't going to help. Because very similar to crying, journaling is a release. It's like popping the top off of a bottle that's about to explode. But it has another whole benefit to it, is that you can say, all right, I released it. Let's just say that's your first paragraph. And then afterwards you go, all right, well, what am I going to do about it? And journaling allows you to just let your thoughts just roll free without any restrictions, without judgment, nothing.
So when I started journaling, one of the first things was I was able to process all the reasons why I was in pain. And that validated me. That got me to realize that A, there's nothing wrong with me. This is a natural human experience. And B, I found like a level of beauty and deepness and wisdom that came from the expressions that took me by surprise as I started reading my own writing. I was like, whoa, I wrote that? That came out of me. That's like a mother, a soon-to-be mother, that's like, oh my gosh, this beautiful baby came out from me, my own body, and you just surprise yourself. Like, how can something so beautiful and deep and profound come out of me? So that's kind of like the process of journaling, that people will surprise themselves on just how deep they and wise they actually are.
A lot of times, or, you know, like resolution to things that I can't quite resolve fully just in my head.
And so I want it to be, I think that's like one of the things that I want to go back and kind of explore and kind of figure out, you know, why did this happen, and why did it happen when it happened? And it's like, we think like, oh, if I just gulp that back, if I just swallow it back, it'll go away. And it's like, nope, still here. And so I think I'm starting to really figure that, like, I can't swallow that back. Like, I need to let things out, you know, and I don't need to, you know, it doesn't have to be fire coming out and wild eyes and be like, ah! But I think I need to still speak up for myself. You know, we talk about like being kind and being considerate and being patient to everyone, but often we forget ourselves, you know? And so it's kind of like, I want to write this, like, for me, it's like, I want to write this exploration of like, you know, I started with this ailment and I was at my weakest point, and I kept foraging through being like, I'm fine. But obviously I was not fine. and just like the toll that took on me. And it took me a long time too to recognize that I was doing that to myself. You know, I was so quick to blame everybody else and to blame other problems and not look at my own actions and not hold myself accountable.
As you keep journaling, you're gonna start arcing both the character in the story and yourself. And when I say arc, I mean like you're gonna get to that point eventually where you're gonna find acceptance. Because once you've processed all that and you've done the anger, I mean, you've gone through the anger and you've done through the intensive crying and you've done like all the hating, the self-hating and hating others and like all that, it's all out of your system and into the paper. Because you're not just writing like, you know, like tutty-dum, no, you're crying. Like you're angry, like you're gonna be transformed in that process of writing it. And you're also gonna be processing it. So you're like detoxing all that too. And so then you feel like a weight has been lifted in your reality because you've dumped it in writing. And I don't know, there's something very transformative of the process of actually writing it, because you're communicating, you're informing not just yourself, but humanity itself, the world that you have gone through. And it's something about communicating it, even if nobody's reading it. The fact that you've communicated it to yourself has a level of healing that's so powerful in the journey.
This thing that it's healthy if you're not okay. Like, that's something I'm putting into perspective. Like, it's okay that you're not okay, but acknowledge the pain instead of hurt, instead of hiding it, because it is cancer in the lungs.
I mean, the love story has helped me in a immense way. I used to journal a lot when I was more of a teenager, but as I grew up, I kind of left it behind. And sometimes I used to journal about like the good stuff. It was always like happy days that I wanted to remember. And the love story has brought it up to my attention since I started that, you know, it's important to also write about the bad stuff.
I just mean, for me, the way that I communicate with the world is words and obviously body language and all of the other important aspects, but it's what people say, it's what I say, it's what I read, how I take things in. I mean, literally, it's how we get directions to do anything is words. And so it's important how we use them, and who we use them, like how we communicate with people. So, and you know, I always had that like lovely idea, oh, I'm going to write a book one day, but I didn't ever think that what I had to say was worth listening to, because I believed so many other people along my path that didn't give what I had to say as much credit as I thought that it deserved, and I allowed that to stifle my own voice. And so I feel like with the love story, you know, I am in a place now where I can just, you know, do exactly what Minji intended, which is, you know, break wide open.
I think creativity like lets a lot of emotions out that we don't know that we're holding. So for me, when I started journaling, I was never really a journaler until I found a love story, and then journaling has just like helped me say things that I wouldn't usually say, because I typically try to be a nice person. So I just I let everything out in my journal entries, and it helped a lot. I don't hold anything back in them, and it's just really good for letting everything.
One of the first things that journaling did for me is to witness why I was in pain, to really go into the reasoning behind why I was in so much pain. And it's like, there's so many reasons, right? I mean, like anything that's the absence of love is a reason to be in pain, you know, because I do believe we are divine creatures made in love and designed to love with a mission to love. So anything that is not loving is cause for pain. So I think it's not hard to find reasons to be in pain.
At the beginning, it's very scary to join a group of people where you don't know exactly what you're going to be doing. You just know you're going to be writing. And even if you're not a professional writer, I always encourage people to journal. I mean, journaling is an outlet. I mean, a lot of people use music as an outlet, drawing, or even watching TV as an outlet. But it's always important to write that down, you know, write moments down, even if they're dark moments, because you're going to look back at them and then you're going to realize, you know, that was all, it was not all for nothing, but it had a purpose. It had a purpose. So yeah, I encourage everybody to come into the journaling workshops and actually do it, and don't be afraid.
The love story supports mental illness. And I think that that's been swept under the rug for so long that people don't want to talk about it, and they should. And I also want people to know that the love story supports writers. Before I came and onboarded with the love story, I never had anything published before. And I've not only published online, but in a couple of weeks, I'll be publishing my first book. And I want people to know that, you know, especially writers just getting started.
Just take what you need and leave the rest behind. Take what you like and leave the rest behind. Because really, you can. That's a life mantra right there. If there's something like, I truly think that the love story is so good and so genuinely well-intentioned that there is something in it for everyone, even if not all of it is for everyone.
We can structure in a way that you journal your pain and your passion. So this was a great opportunity to open up the gates. And I already have a book, I just haven't expanded on it. But the journal really, especially in the organization as the love story, really gave me the impact to really put in the pain, because I was trying to hide the loneliness. I didn't want to talk about loneliness. The thing is, I didn't even want to talk about grief, because grief was hard. Because people shame, judge you, say to get over it. But I found a grieving community. I'm able to have that acknowledgement, but the journal really gave me time to really open up and talk about grief and loneliness.